This episode of the Blue Collar Real Estate Podcast brought to you by Stacy Mayo and the Scott Miller team at Ruoff Mortgage. Whether you're buying new or refinancing, Ruoff has a solution for you.
What is going on, everybody? Greg, happy Friday. It is Friday, 5 o'clock. We are live on the air, radio waves, I think. No, not so much. Now, welcome, everybody, on the latest edition of Blue Collar Real Estate. I am Ryan Herget, sitting here with your host, the man of the hour, Greg Mayo. What's going on, buddy?
Dude, today we're going to do something a little different.
We are doing something different.
Today we're going to get trashy.
Literally, sort of, not really at all. But.
So, yeah, I want to talk about construction waste.
So, yes.
You and I are on job site after job site, roof after roof, right? And you see these dumpsters, a 30-yard dumpster, and we'll get into what that looks like in a minute. And most of that stuff goes into landfills. And this is a big problem.
I totally agree with that. And so I want to preface everything we're going to say with this show started really as a real estate show, but since blue collar is the theme of what we do, and you and I love construction work, it's more and more of our show, it kind of keeps veering towards
Right.
the construction side of things, because that's what we really, really both enjoy, and just kind of pulling back the curtain on all that. And again, kind of like what we originally said in our very first episode of a blue collar, it's we want to show what happens behind the scenes of the HGTV episode, right?
Exactly.
And what's actually going on. So that way, if you as a homeowner want to take on some of these projects yourselves, cool. Reach out to us. We'd love to help you out with that, at least maybe point you in some right directions and just help out. But we just love this stuff. And so that's why we're talking about this today. But one of the things that we spent a lot of time earlier this year talking about was, green building, recycling. Yep. And, that is a topic that's so important to both you and I. And, finding different ways, and just simply, I think that's why we're doing this show, is just to create some awareness. Maybe one person will hear this show, maybe 400 people hear it. Who knows? But the point is, if we can, do one little thing to move the needle in the positive direction with all the stuff that's going on in the world. Well, you and I are in the construction world, so let's show some people what some options are, because maybe they're not aware of it.
Well, and it's funny how I got here to this topic. So we did an episode a few weeks ago about affordable housing. Mm-hmm. Since then, I've been assembling a team of people that are going to come together, and we're going to build affordable houses in Indianapolis.
I'm excited for this. You guys have really done a cool job with this.
And one of the investors is like me and like you. She's super passionate about green, and we had a long conversation one night about how do we make this as green as possible and still affordable.
Yep.
So you start digging into all these different things. You and I talked about solar the other day, which we'll tease out. We're not going to talk about solar in the affordable houses today, but we will get into it. And then I started looking at this construction waste thing.
Yeah.
So let me just drop a little tidbit on you right out of the gate.
Go ahead and drop it. Knowledge bomb coming. Alert.
570 million tons of construction remodel waste going to landfills every year.
So to put that in perspective, 570 million tons. That's, in roofing, that's a business that I do a lot in, and in roofing there's 11 million tons of roofing waste a year, but we're talking 570 million tons. And so I can't even fathom what that looks like in one heaping pile of waste. 11 million tons of roofing waste could literally cover the entire city of Washington, D.C., not once, not twice, but 4 times. You could literally roof the entire city of Washington, D.C. every single year with the roofing waste that gets done. So,
wow.
Recycling, that's super important. But 570 million? That's insane. And that's just going in and sitting somewhere, which creates all kinds of other challenges for the environment and the world that we're going to leave our kids.
Well, and to put that in a little perspective, consumer waste, every week we set our garbage cans out and they come and get it. Nationwide, every bit of consumer waste is half that.
See, that's we didn't talk about that before the show. That blows me away, actually.
I like to drop little nuggets on you on the show.
And I'm sitting here just kind of, reeling a little bit, because that's, this is an industry that you and I are super passionate about, and man, something needs to be done about that, I feel. So again, that's why we're doing the show.
Right, because we're screwing up the planet and we want to fix that.
That's not funny. But.
So let's talk about the most common dumpster size.
Yeah, so go ahead. It's a 30-yard, right?
Right.
So 30-yard dumpster, which is, imagine you're that person moving, right? This is a real estate show.
Hang on. Let me interrupt for a second. Jason, we have a picture of a 30-yard. I just kind of want people that are watching on Facebook right now to kind of get an idea of what we're talking about.
And if you're not, watching on Facebook, then maybe you should. In about 5 seconds, once we get this.
I don't think I was provided one. Do you want me to Google?
Yeah, Google 30-yard dumpster would be a perfect next step here in the.
So while he's finding that, they're 22 feet long, 8 feet wide, and 6 feet tall.
This is literally enough to take up one side of an entire residential house driveway, right?
Right.
So and that's going to fill a lot. That's going to fill a substantial amount. You can fit about 17 years worth of Christmas gifts into a 30-yard dumpster.
Which one you like up there?
I like this one with the little guy standing by it.
There you go.
He's all like, "What's up?"
That's what it is. So, and I bring up that joke because one of the neighbors in my community was just moving, and I went over there, and that was actually their story. They had lived in this house 17 years. They built it brand new, and they had one of these dumpsters literally filled up to the entire brim with just stuff. And that's not just construction waste, but that's, again, if you're going in remodeling a house, you're filling one of these up. We just did it on one of our rehabs, and it was a small house that we did it on.
Yeah, and it filled up fast. And so at least, and one of those holds about, by the way, about 3.5 to 5 tons worth of crap, right? Yep. So the next question is, so what?
So what do you do about it? So what are options out there? So I'm going to give you an example right now, but one of the most common things that can be recycled out of so much construction waste is wood, right? There's wood in almost every single construction project, and what can be done with that wood. I'm going to give you a simple example of something I did yesterday. One of the things with our business Roofco that's so important to us is again, being green. Solar is a big part of what we want to do, and so everything we want to do, we want to be conscientious about what does that look like from a green impact perspective. Yeah. And there's pallets. You put a roof on your house, you're going to have 2 or 3 pallets that the shingles come on. Well, I literally took those pallets because one of my buddies did a pallet wall in his house, and it looked so cool. And he did a pallet wall, and I'm like, cool, that's what I'm going to do. So one more roof job, I'm going to have enough pallets that I can break up to literally build a pallet wall at no expense.
That's awesome.
And that's just a simple little example, but wood is one of the most common things that is being thrown into landfills right now.
And it's, people are under the wrong idea that, well, I mean, it's like bricks, which are natural material, and it's concrete and it's wood, so it all just decomposes. Not necessarily true. Many landfills are unlined, and we can get into the sort of technology of waste disposal some other time, but unlined means literally it's just dirt, and they dump crap on it and then put more dirt on it.
Which creates a lot of problems.
Well, yeah, mainly because the water percolates through it. And it picks up whatever, rust, iron, calcium deposits that are in the cinder blocks, or they're not called cinder blocks anymore.
But then that leaches into possible groundwater, and it creates other problems that, again, the impact that we're leaving future generations. I didn't appreciate this enough until here recently as a human being, and but when you start doing some research, you realize that, wow, this is substantial. And I'm not going to make light of this, but the whole COVID thing going on is definitely a big world challenge right now. But things like this that we can control, that simply we've chosen not to for so long, have created such a bigger challenge, but nobody's talking about it, which again is why we're doing this show. So,
and the sexy word for the day for this topic, are you ready? Hydrogen sulfide.
I don't even know what that means.
So we got sulfide in it, so there's sulfur, right? Hydrogen sulfide. It's what drywall, gypsum, the core of drywall, off gases when it gets wet. It's funky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super funky. And we're going to talk about what you can do with drywall, how they're learning how to recycle that now here in a few minutes. But hydrogen sulfide, just one of the chemicals that off gases. You ever drive by a landfill?
I was at a landfill not too long ago, dropping off recycled shingles on the other side of the landfill. It's not a pleasant smell.
No. No. But so typical construction site, or remodeled dumpster, let's talk about what we can do with the different products. Now, you mentioned wood. You can keep the wood and do stuff with it. There are some recycling centers that will take the wood out of a dumpster, and let's say there's a 16-foot 2x4, and 4 foot of it's jacked up and cockeyed and split because they used it for bracing. In fact, a lot of bracing is 12-foot 2x4s, and they nail or screw in both ends. I don't know what the hell this is.
That was a good example.
So they take those in and they chop off the 2 feet on either end. Now they have a saleable piece of wood. So that's one thing they do. The other thing, they grind up the wood that's unusable and use it to heat the building, to power the building in some cases.
That's so powerful. That is such an efficient way to heat a building, and so many different plants and other buildings are are simply heated that way. It's such a cool way to do it. And again, not everybody's aware of that.
And the first time I saw that, I was a contractor sales rep at a lumber company. This was like 15 years ago. And Marvin Windows, who in my opinion is the best window manufacturer on the stinking planet, and they're not sponsors, but they should be. Anyway, I took a group of contractors up and we did a 3-day tour of the Marvin plant up in War Road, Minnesota. Beautiful country up there. But their plant back then, because most of their windows are wood, right? Wood-based, aluminum wrapped. Their plant back then was heated by scrap. And they had like 1 million square feet under roof. So this isn't new technology.
It's just simply the application of it, and again, I so wish more people would consider doing this and just simply knowing what their options are out there, because there's so many more viable and green ways that we can continue to do things as people. So let's kind of talk about, the drywall option. You just mentioned it. You kind of teased that a second ago. So what are some of the different options that people have when it comes to drywall recycling? Certainly I know drywall is one of the most common things that as you're going in and rehabbing houses right now, that's something you're certainly running into. And, you can do things like make new drywall out of it.
Yeah.
What, if anything else, can be done with that gypsum that's in there?
So there's products, chemical products, compounds in the drywall that they can use for cement, bonding agents. They can apply it to soils for crops, for better drainage.
That's awesome.
To make the soil more loamy, if you will. And my favorite one that I think is just hilarious, they actually have figured out a way to recycle gypsum into kitty litter.
That makes sense.
It's super absorbent. It sucks in the smell. If you've ever had a cat in your house, there's no good place to put the kitty litter box.
No, and you're absolutely right. I mean, it is super absorbent. If moisture gets on drywall, it like sucks it in and then produces mold shortly thereafter. But
so I think that's cool. And for a long time, we had trouble figuring out how to recycle gypsum because you got to get that paper or
off
cardboard, off of it. They figured out how to do that in a cost-effective way. And now they're figuring out all these new products they can make with the recycled gypsum. I think it's awesome.
I love that. And so many of us are, doing projects around the house, whether you want to do an addition, whether you want to, finish out your garage. I mean, drywall is used all the time, especially in all the new construction taking place right now. So yeah, drywall is definitely one. Another one that I didn't know until we were doing the research for this show was carpet. So you can actually recycle carpet. So tell us about that, Greg.
So when you demo a house, and my parents' generation, our parents' generation, they carpeted everything. So now we're finding all these cool houses from the 50s and 60s that have practically pristine hardwood underneath.
Yeah.
People buy them, they roll up that carpet, and for a long time, people were just throwing them in the dumpster. Well, there's a place here in Indianapolis on the north side, the name escapes me at the moment, Cruise Carpet Recycling, where I found out about them 7 or 8 years ago when I was remodeling a condo. And it cost, I think, $50 for a pickup truck load of carpet. So basically almost a whole house, if you roll the stuff up right, to dump it up there.
That's not bad.
And then they recycle it. It doesn't go into the landfill where that stuff does not break down easily.
No. Carpet is, very synthetic at this point.
So what can we do with carpet?
I don't know. What can we do with carpet, Greg? Because I don't know. So that's why I'm asking you.
Brian said, here's a softball.
I'm going to just throw you a lob right up there and knock it out of the park there on that one, Greg.
Here's the first one, something I didn't know. You ready? Composite lumber.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
They can process those fibers out, and they add a fibrous rigidity to composite lumber.
Wow, which is used on things like decks.
Right.
That's awesome.
And they also
That's super awesome.
use, just for a little side note on the composite lumber, they also use recycled grocery bags, like Kroger bags, or whatever. So you put those together, you got two recycled products making a decking product that is actually superior to wood decking and will last forever.
Yeah, it does. That decking is so much nicer. We put a deck on last summer and it didn't get stained in time, unfortunately. And now it doesn't look as good as I would hope it would look, unfortunately. So yeah, that's kind of the same thing. It's like, the composite stuff, it holds up and it's so maintenance free relative to, the natural product.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I love the stuff. Some of it gets pretty expensive. The stuff I looked at for my house, the color I selected was $76 for a 16-foot board.
Oh,
we will not be using that product.
That's you're going to move on to Plan B on that one. Huh?
Yeah, I got a guy that's going to come pour some concrete. So then the other thing, tile backer board. For putting up tile in a shower or whatever. Again, it's fibrous, so it helps bond the product together. There's a lot of cement in that product. or cement-like material.
Why do you think? So let's pause right there real quick, because I know there's several other things that can be recycled. But why is it that you think, Greg, more contractors and more people don't choose to recycle this stuff versus just take it to the landfill?
I think there's, if I can just be really blunt, there's two obvious reasons. Number one, they don't know. The education's not out there. For years and years and years, doing things green, recycling, all that kind of stuff has been seen as this far left-wing political, as my dad would say, yippie movement. It's not. And if you're a right-wing Christian, you should be concerned about green because it's all about stewardship of the planet. So I think there's that stigma attached to it that people are like, well, those people are just nuts. It's not. It's a damn good idea.
Yeah.
To take care of what we've been given.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Whether you believe it came from God or Allah or Bob, it doesn't matter.
But take care of what's there and be responsible with it.
No, not Bob. Chuck. Chuck
Norris?
No, he's a godlike figure. No, Chuck is God on Supernatural, if you watch that show.
I've not seen Supernatural.
No, it's a great show.
I am not a good conversationalist when it comes to TV shows. I'm sorry.
But
we are currently watching season 15 or 16, I believe it is. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Chuck's lost his mind this season. But anyway, so I think that's a big part of it is awareness. And I think the other part of it is people are slow to change oftentimes. Right. Well, I've always done it this way. I just go to the landfill. I don't want to find another place. Well, what we're going to find out here in a minute is you don't have to with a lot of stuff now. They'll bring a dumpster. Oops. They'll They'll bring a dumpster to your job site and take it away, and we'll talk about that in a minute. A couple other things I want to say about carpet, though, because this is huge. I was at Southside Landfill dumping some stuff.
There's your dumpster.
Oh, thanks. See, there's my buddy.
There it is. If you're not on YouTube, it would be a better show if you just hop on YouTube right now.
But it would be. It'd be a better show if we took a break. No, but so roofing shingles.
This is huge. Roofing shingles, again, I think I mentioned it earlier, there's 11 million tons of roofing shingles that, get, disposed of each year. There's almost 12, billion square, I'm sorry, 12 million squares of shingles that are produced in the U.S. every year. I mean, astronomical numbers, of asphalt get used. And, yes, it does take, if you don't live in specific areas, it does take a conscientious effort to, develop a plan to make sure that stuff does get recycled. It's so much easier to just take it to the landfill, throw everything in the dump trailer, and just dump it all away, and just forget about it. It's easier, and quite frankly, it's a little cheaper to do that. However, again, take into consideration what type of impact do we as a person, as a company, want to leave on this world. And
right.
I'd rather do something for a reason rather than just do the same thing everybody else does because it's easy. And recycling shingles, it's just a matter of finding the right location to do it. And again, that stuff gets used up. It gets used in things like roads for asphalt roads.
Yep.
It gets used in parking lots. It gets used in so many different things that we're doing. And in addition to that, there's other components on the roof that frequently get recycled as well, such as metals. We'll talk about that. There's metals that come off every single roof. So
flashing, drip edge, all that kind of stuff.
That's it. So all of that stuff, we take it off, we pile it up nice and neat, and then we go store it real quick till we have enough to take it to recycle it. And here's the cool part about that is when we take, we did a house where we took aluminum siding off of it. Well, that stuff's actually worth something if you take it off and recycle it. And then you combine that with 4 or 5 houses worth of other edge metals and stuff that you take off of there, and now all of a sudden you've got a $500 credit. I can take those, they're going to reuse it, and I get $500, which means that's a fun budget for us in our company.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's no lose. And I'll tell you right now, you go down to Southside Landfill during the week, anytime around 8 or 9 o'clock at night, what you're going to see is roofing crew after roofing crew after roofing crew with dump trailers dumping shingles.
Lining up.
And it drives me nuts. But so you mentioned metals. Let's talk about metals. We got nails. But I don't... we got nails. Now, I know a guy, if you want, will bend them all straight and resell them.
That's such a good business model, I think. He just sits there with some tweezers all day long, right?
Yeah, just an old lumber yard I worked at in Durand, Illinois. The manager was fond of saying when somebody would screw something up, why don't you get a rock and a crooked nail and hammer that together? It was just a funny thing. But so the metal's sorted by kind, into different bins, and then just kind of like you guys do with Roofco, then that metal is recycled.
Absolutely.
And it is so much cheaper to recycle metal than it is to mine the ore and process it into
Oh
metal.
my gosh. I was, when we were doing this research, you look at all of the different, quarries and mines out there. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, the destruction that it takes, that it tolls on the entire environment when you're, going in all these rock quarries and deforestation and the mills or, mines. Sorry, I can't talk right now, but it's insane when you look at that on a global perspective.
Oh, yeah.
And again, just a small, minute amount. I mean, hell, I'd be happy if 10% of the people over the course of my lifetime are just simply made aware of this versus just continuing what we're doing, because small little things, as you well know, compounded over time make gigantic differences. So
it's a compound effect.
That's it.
It really works. I read that book in January because you told me about it. It works everywhere.
But it so is. And so little plug for Darren Hardy right now. If those of you watching the show have not heard of Darren Hardy, the book is called The Compound Effect. Darren has become one of my absolute mentors in the world right now. But the simple effect of it is we're not going to get better overnight, right? Okay,
right.
We'd all love to go from not knowing anything out of high school to having our doctorate PhD, but quite frankly, that takes 12 years and endless hours of experience to get to that level, right? Well, it's the same thing. It's little bits every single day, better every day is what we call it.
Or as you like to say, just kick the can a little further down the road each day.
Kick that can a little further in the right direction.
So I want to talk about cardboard too. Again, with respect to job sites, because so much stuff comes packaged in cardboard, even kitchen cabinets,
almost
windows.
all of it, yeah.
Cardboard's really simple. They've been recycling this stuff for decades.
Yep.
They bale it up, they send it off, and it's reprocessed into more cardboard.
Yep.
It's also made into chipboard for cereal boxes, paper towels.
Oh, there's so many different applications like that where cardboard can be used. And again, I genuinely feel, after being on a lot of job sites here in the last several weeks, it's just a conscious effort. It's simply making the decision to do that and separate it all rather than just throwing it all in one pile and forgetting about it. And that's something that again, I want everybody to take that away. It's like if 10 out of 100 contractors or homeowners will take the effort and just do this, oh my gosh, the impact can be gargantuan in just a handful of years.
And you can request your contractor, whomever you hire,
Absolutely.
to recycle whatever's recyclable. You can put it in the contract, and I would. And I don't want to get too off track here, but I do want to mention this. There are a lot of municipalities that now require it.
I'm not familiar with any of those.
They ain't around these parts, feller. But there are. Boston, there's 7 or 8 I looked up the other day, and I thought, now I'm all about smaller government. I think the government's way too involved in our lives anyway.
I'm not going to get on that topic on this show. So.
I'm not either, but I just I say that to preface and say, but this is one area where I feel like, it's not a feeling, but I think that they need to have some regulations about that.
It would be very easy. No, I take it back. Imposing any regulations is certainly not going to be easy, but again, creating awareness and just letting people know that you can do this, that it is a viable option, and quite frankly, you get this much of a good, feel-good feeling out of it at the end of the day, knowing that you're doing your small little part in this world to help move it in the right direction.
Right. And so 2 more products, and then we're going to talk about some ways to do it.
Okay.
One of them, plastics.
Oh my gosh, so many applications for this. We already talked about it, the plastic decks,
Yep.
right there. I mean, plastic is such a big part of what, gets thrown into a dumpster all of the time. So absolutely.
And by the way, my wife and I were talking about this the other day. Every episode, I got a plastic water bottle. I started tracking a couple months ago how many of these we go through. Now, this one, and most of the ones we usually buy up from Aldi, they're made with recycled products and yada, yada, yada. But we still go through a crap load of plastic bottles. So my plumber's coming out in a couple weeks to install a whole house filtration system. I don't want to add salt to my water. And you will, in a couple weeks, not see me with this on the show anymore.
Just got to get you one of those aluminum ones, carry it around.
Well, my mother-in-law gave me one for Christmas, a big 32-ounce Yeti one.
That's awesome.
I just need to get better quality water than comes out of the tap in Plainfield. No offense to the Plainfield Water Department. I love all you guys.
But yeah, plastic
It's not their fault.
Plastic is, all over construction sites as well as throughout all of our daily lives, just like you just mentioned there. So, and plastic can literally be recycled into literally any other form of plastic. Yeah. So it's super easy to do, and just, again, taking the conscious effort to do so.
And then the big kuda ha-ha.
I don't even know what that means either.
I think
You've got all these words. I feel not smart right now.
Was that a word or just some sounds thrown together? I'm not even sure.
Should I also Google that word? You might have to spell it for me.
I am the last guy you want spelling anything, Jason.
I got caught cheating in 3rd grade spelling in Miss Jacobson's class. I got an F on that test. It was a bad
Well,
day.
that's not fair.
It's a bad day. Anyway.
You still remember it.
I do. I've not been a good speller since.
Jason, maybe after the show we'll do a spelling intervention with Ryan and kind of talk through some of the issues that might have come up.
All right.
be okay.
Sounds good.
Look, he got his therapist voice. Sounds good, Greg. That's fine.
Just sit back and relax.
So
All right.
what if any other products, Greg, can we create some awareness on right now? We've talked about plastics, we've talked about metals, we've talked about shingles, cardboard, carpet, drywall. We've talked about darn near everything at this point. Is there anything that we've left off the table right now?
Yeah, one thing is, why the hell am I leaning back like this?
I don't know.
Looks weird on camera. So the biggest thing, concrete, brick, masonry, all those products, they are probably the most recyclable of the products we've listed here, because they make them into everything: aggregate for new concrete, road base. They can make new building blocks out of them. You can do anything with this stuff, and a lot of it, again, gets thrown into landfill. Now, what you'll find is that with the companies that, excuse me, will come out and bring a dumpster. If you're going to have concrete, brick, any kind of masonry, blocks, any kind of debris, they'll bring you a separate dumpster just for that, because they can recycle that
Immediately.
pretty stinking quick. I talked to a guy from a company here in Indy called Construction Waste that will bring you a roll-off dumpster like this. And one of the reasons that they really stuck out to me is that they're a complete 100% women-owned business.
I love that. That's really awesome.
Naptown Homes is a woman-owned business.
I love that too.
I'm just the lackey for the 2 ladies that own it, one of which is my wife. But
You're just the employee. You just do what you're told, Greg.
Exactly right, which is why I've been married 20 years.
Congratulations.
They'll bring you out a 30-yard. It's about $350 or so about the same price.
Yeah.
And instead of taking it to the landfill, they go recycle it at their center. Now, here's the cool part. A new construction, which is a lot of lumber and cardboard and bricks and stuff, the rep told me that with the new construction dumpster, they can recycle 90 to 98% of a 30-yard dumpster that's brought in off a new construction job site.
That's awesome.
Now, think about that. How many dumpsters, since I know you like doing math, how many dumpsters do you have to have that you recycle 95% out of before you fill one dumpster with actual trash that goes to the landfill?
That's a lot.
That's the number I was looking for.
That's a lot. Let's go with 20. Let's go with 20 if I'm doing my math the right way there.
It to me,
I don't know. I've no. It's going to drive me nuts because I can't do that off the top of my head while I'm trying to pay attention to the show right now.
Jason likes math.
Jason's busy back there.
But it's a lot. If you're watching, please do the math and send me a message, because I can't do two things at once. But so that's amazing. And I just talked to that rep again today. They are building a new state-of-the-art facility. The one they have now is down the south side, kind of in Mars Hill area. They're building a new state-of-the-art facility over on the Near East side, and he said it should be done by the end of the year. And he's going to let me come out with a camera and give me a tour and talk through all the stuff they do. So really neat company. We talked about Cruise Carpet Recycling. Again, this is all Indiana-based companies because that's where we are. And then we talked about shingle recycling. There's a place called Indiana Shingle Recycling.
Yep.
$100 a dump load.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of when you're tearing off a roof, you just simply have to separate things. You're not going to be able to throw all of the wood if you have a bunch of rotted decking or anything on there. You got to take the trash, the plastic wrappers. We take all those up. We package all of those up into a plastic bag, and that's a recyclable product as well. All of the the billions of squares of shingles, they all come in plastic wrappers. Well, that's all waste too if it's not just conscientiously put into the right spot and recycled the right way. So absolutely, it's just again, it's about taking the time to do it. I wish more and more people would, and that's why we're doing the show. So.
Yeah, and I hope that if you're watching this, if you're listening to this some point down the road on Stitcher or iHeart or whatever you're doing, that you take some of these ideas. Look, the government in Indiana may or may not change and mandate it like other places, right? I don't know. And it doesn't really matter, because the whole point of this show was to hopefully stress the importance of it, and also hopefully help you understand that there are options. You can do this yourself.
Yeah. You don't have to wait for somebody else to tell you what you can do. It's just simply taking an initiative. There you go.
And it matters. It really matters. If we can keep, and let's just go back, 570 million tons of construction waste in the landfills every year.
That's a substantial amount. We're going to have to, on next week's show, Greg, we're going to have to figure out exactly what that would fill up.
Oh, heck yeah.
That'll be fun little homework for us this week to figure out what 570 some million tons of construction waste could actually fill up, because I'm guessing it's a couple cities.
Yeah, if not a small state.
Right. So we'll figure that out. So that is what you have to look forward to on the next episode of Blue Collar Real Estate. So until next week, I am Ryan Herget.
And I'm Greg Mayo.
Be sure to smash that subscribe button, like us, shoot us a comment, whatever we can do to help you out. That's what we're here for. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great week.
Yeah, what he said.